Hey guys, welcome to today's reading. Please bear with me today if my voice sounds a little weird. I have been sick for the past few weeks, and I'm still not at 100%. So if my voice sounds a little off, that's what's going on, but hopefully we can get through your reading and everything will be good. Today is your November 2024 forecast. So we're going to see everything that's going on in the month of November for you guys, everything you should look forward to, be aware of, look out for, all the details. We are going to be getting into them today, and you are going to pick the card that is calling out to you, drawing your name, drawing your attention in towards it. Then, as soon as you make up your mind, just scroll down to the timestamps and the comments and the description and jump right into your pile. By the way, if you like how I read tarot and you want to see more of it, then be sure to head to my Patreon where I post all my additional readings. There are over 100 exclusive readings you'll only find on Patreon, and you also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. I just posted a reading all about open channeled messages from Spirit, and before that a reading about your future spouse, but I honestly can't remember the topic because it's been a while, guys. I've been super sick. I'm going to be posting a lot on Patreon to make up for it. So if that sounds good to you and you're interested in joining, then head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description and join me on Patreon. Also, if you would like to book a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. Whether you're looking for a quick half-hour reading, a full hour-length reading, pre-recorded reading, or a live session, an astrology session, a channeled message session, or a tarot reading, you get to customize your time with me, so it's the perfect reading for you. If you're interested, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So thanks for watching, guys. Now, if you need more time to decide, you can totally feel free to rewind, pause, and take as much time as you need, but we're going to go ahead and jump into pile one. Hey, pile one, welcome to your reading. Let's get into your cards. So you guys got the Three of Swords, Two of Wands, Three of Wands, and the Magician card. So wow, this is going to be an exciting month for a lot of you guys. You may be planning something like a trip or a move. The Two of Wands and the Three of Wands are generally about movement, making a decision, moving forward. They connect with Aries. And for you guys, this may be you deciding to leave a situation behind that's no longer serving you. If there's been a job that's draining you or a relationship that you just don't feel fulfilled by, this may be the month that you just decide, I can't really do this anymore. There may be some sadness about that with the Three of Swords coming in, but overall, I feel like this is a month for you to really discover your personal power. The Magician card came out for you guys. So that is remembering who you are and remembering how powerful you are, how much you can kind of stand alone on your own 2 feet, and how also you need to kind of respect yourself. You know, one thing about the Magician is there's an inner belief that is required from the Magician. You can't really be the Magician if you don't believe you can do it, right? You can't make magic happen. That's like the first key to magic, is doing it and believing in it and believing that it's possible. And I feel like for you, maybe there has been a situation that has taken away your inner belief in yourself or your possibilities that you can see. You know, maybe you've started limiting yourself to, oh, I couldn't do that, or just feeling down on yourself. And I feel like in the month of November, this is about you guys rediscovering who you are and your own personal power, and that the sky is the limit for you. Nothing can stop you, pile one. You have so much incredible power to offer the world, and you don't need to hold that back or to tamp yourself down to fit into any situation. So I feel like this is a month about maybe even like inner discovery, getting back to yourself. Maybe there was a piece of yourself you kind of felt like you lost, whether that was, you know, you used to love to cook and you've been like too busy to cook and you've just been getting a lot of takeout lately, and you rediscover how much fun you have in the kitchen, or rediscovering that, you know, you've been feeling really disempowered at work, feeling like a coworker is kind of dominating over you, and you start learning to speak up again and that your ideas are really great, valid ideas. I feel like this is about finding who you are and really being unafraid. It feels like for some of you guys, there may have been something you were afraid of, or some energy where you were almost keeping yourself in the safety zone. That's one of the keys of the Two of Wands, is that consideration of like, should I just stay in my safe house or should I go venture out into the world? And since you picked the Three of Wands, to me, that is that strong message that you've chosen to venture out into the world. You've chosen that next step in the Wands journey, because the Wands are ruled by fire. And just like fire likes to dance around and move from, like, you know, if it's like a forest fire, it likes to sweep over the whole forest. Fire likes to venture forth. Fire needs oxygen. It can't be just stagnant in the same place. It needs to have these new experiences to grow. And I feel like for you, this is maybe about discovering your own personal power by having new experiences. So maybe even like traveling for some of you guys, or moving, or just doing something to get you out of your comfort zone. There may be a lot of planning required with this, but I feel like there's such an energy that it's almost like nothing can stop you, or you have this boldness around you that you didn't have before. There was something that was keeping you afraid. There was something that was keeping you disempowered. There was something that was making you hold yourself back. And now it's like the reins are off. Like, we're ready to go. We are going full force. And I feel like there's such an exciting thing happening for you in November, like a change that you guys wanted to make for the longest time. And it's almost like you finally give yourself permission, like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I'm just going to I'm just going to go for it. I'm not even going to overthink it. There may be some planning required with the Two of Wands, because that's a planning energy. But I feel like for you, you also are just learning to trust yourself and learning to trust the process, and learning that even if you do make some mistakes, even if you do take the wrong turn, sometimes you will get to your destination at the end, and that's all that matters. So this fear energy that I feel like was around you strongly before is really starting to leave, and you're trusting yourself more and more. Like I said, I feel like this month, a major theme of it is your journey to yourself, your feelings of trust towards yourself, and your relationship with yourself, realizing that you've got your own back and that no one can kind of protect you or do the things for you that you can do for yourself. At the end of the day, of course, we're all social people, and the threes can always have a social element to them. But I also feel like you guys are realizing that if there's something you want to do, if there's somewhere you want to go, if there's something you want to achieve, that you're going to have to be the one to step towards it and be bold about it and go after it. That there's no point as well trying to put yourself into a box or make yourself smaller so that anyone else is happy with you. So I feel like this month, you're kind of like, if there's been situations where you dulled yourself down or kind of hummed yourself in to make someone else happy, that is definitely going out the window. Let me get into some more cards for you. Pile number, wow, I hadn't seen these yet, by the way. Freedom. I love that for you guys. The healing heart, love, acceptance, romance, achievement, completion, reward, and Archangel Haniel, joy, blessings, intuition. Wow, some really amazing positive cards. I love this freedom card because it does feel like for some of you guys, there is way more freedom this month. Like I said, if there's a situation that's been holding you back or you have felt tied in, you may just be like, I am ready to break out of this at all costs. Sometimes this energy even can be a little like chaotic at times, where it's like the first day of summer or the first day of spring, when you've been hemmed in all winter, you've been stuck inside and you're just like running around outside. Like, it reminds me of when I had first visited my friend living in LA, and she took us to this restaurant, and I was with my other friend, and we were visiting from like a cold weather place, and we were both wearing like complete summer clothes, like tank tops and shorts and everything. And no, everyone else was like way covered up. And my friend said to us, she was like, yeah, well, probably everyone knows you're Taurus, because only Taurus wear like tank tops in 60-degree weather in January, because when you're in Los Angeles, that's cold. And once I had lived there, I was like, I can't believe that. Like, I mean, it's still objectively warm. But after I had lived in LA, I was like, okay, I get what she's saying. And it's almost like you may go a little haywire because you're so excited, that like, oh my gosh, I can do this now. I can finally wear what I want or go where I want or whatever. But there's also so much fun in that. It's like, yeah, you may go a little over the top, but you're enjoying, you're making the most out of it. And I do feel like there is sometimes a message for caution, not being reckless, not being like, it's almost like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater or whatever. Don't necessarily feel like, oh my God, I'm free. So I'm just going to do the most reckless thing ever, or I can do what I want. So I'm going to do something so crazy. But maybe meeting somewhere in the middle of like, okay, I am free. I get to do what I want, but I'm also going to be smart. I'm also going to be strategic. The Two of Wands can be an energy of planning and really making sure that you have kind of like mapped out everything and that, you've got all the details covered. So just don't gloss over that part of the project. But this seems like an amazing month. We even have a possibility for romance over here with the healing heart, especially for those of you guys who may have experienced a recent heartbreak with the Three of Swords coming out. If you have experienced a recent heartbreak, there may be a new love or a new romance coming in for you guys. There may be a beautiful new relationship or just some kind of fun, flirtation or experience that I think sometimes that can be the most positive thing. I always think that sometimes people are put in our path, not necessarily to be the be all end all as well, but sometimes just to be an arrow pointing us in the right direction. Because sometimes people are like, oh, I met this person and, I was on vacation. I don't know if I'm ever going to hear from them again. And it's really hard because they live in a different country or whatever. And I always think that you never have to take it as like that's your only option in life because, again, the universe has endless abundance for us. So we never need to hyperfixate on one option. And if it's meant to work out, of course, the universe will align things to work out. But sometimes I think the universe sends us little glimpses. Like if you really got along with that person, you guys were flirting, it was so much fun, you had a blast with them, you thought they were so cute, and you couldn't believe they liked you back, and it was just so great. That can be a little glimpse into your future. Maybe that doesn't work out because of logistics or whatever, but maybe there's another beautiful relationship in your future that's going to be even better. And you're just kind of being shown a little glimpse at that, like how at a dinner party you have an appetizer before you have your main course. You don't have the full thing all at once. You have just a little bit, and then that gets your appetite going, and then, or some, yeah, hors d'oeuvres or whatever. And then, that gets things flowing, and then you're even more excited for dinner and you've gotten into that mode of anticipating the food. And by the same token, I think sometimes the universe says that to us. So my point is, if you guys have had a heartbreak or whatever, I think you should go out, enjoy, have fun, live life. I also think there's an energy around you guys just to really maybe even loving the place where you live, especially for those of you guys who live in like a city or wherever you live. You may just be really enjoying walking around, exploring, discovering like your neighborhood. Or if you live in a small town, maybe you're like, you know what, I'm going to take a little day trip and there's a cute inn nearby and we can get tea there, or we can get some drinks there, or get a nice, really nice pastry there and have a great morning. But I feel like there's a vibe around you kind of romanticizing your life or really going out of your way to experience things. And there is a really strong urge towards travel for you guys for this entire month of November. I'm really getting some of you guys planning a trip, going on a vacation, making some kind of journey, or for some of you guys making a move. And I do feel like Spirit is saying there's a lot of logistics and details that need to be worked out for that. So that may be taking up your time and energy as well, just figuring out like where you want to go. Obviously, if you're traveling, you'll have to figure out like hotels or Airbnbs or whatever. Or if you're moving, you'll have to do research around the different apartments in your area, the different houses, whatever options. So I feel like that's going to take up your time as well. But I also can see you guys dating, enjoying, and really having fun with that. We also got Archangel Haniel, which is such a great energy for you guys. Haniel is really an angel that deals with all kinds of prophecy, like astrology, astronomy, psychic abilities in general, clairvoyance. So you guys may be very intuitive at this time. You may really, really, really be in touch with the future, with what's going to happen. You may be getting downloads from your guides or having very prophetic psychic dreams, and you may even have some healing abilities. So if you have felt like you had a bit of a Three of Swords moment, a broken heart, or there's been something you've been upset about, this can also be that reminder that you have the ultimate healing ability and you are so powerful and capable to heal yourself. And again, I always think we can always make the choice of the energy we want to be in, what we focus our mind on. So even if we're going through a really difficult like heartbreak, again, we're capable to remind ourselves that the universe does have endless abundance. It really does. And that everything is working out on our greatest, highest good. And that, you know, we don't have to focus on that. We don't have to stay obsessed with what's gone wrong, and instead we can focus on the things we want to bring in. And actually, I think learning to do that during times of high stress is such a key manifestation ability. You know, I was listening to something or reading something, and they were talking about how many billionaires have declared bankruptcy. Like, I think it was in the context of Donald Trump, and I think he's declared bankruptcy twice. And then people were talking about that of like, yeah, but that's normal for billionaires. So many billionaires declare bankruptcy to get out of like various things, or if a business fails, they'll just be like, oh, declare bankruptcy. And it's so funny because for the average person, the idea of declaring bankruptcy, right, it would be the end of the world. So you'd be like, oh my God, how do I deal with this? Like I'm bankrupt, I'm not gonna be able to do anything. And someone was talking about this in relation to how a lot of CEOs, when they study them, they found, or powerful businessmen, that they literally react differently to stress. So like, even though it may not even be on the level of bankruptcy, if you run a big company or you're a powerful, successful person, you're going to be probably constantly being sued, constantly in lawsuits. There's constantly people that are going to be, you know, unhappy with you because you screwed them over in some way, or because they want money from you, or they don't like the service they got at like one of your properties or whatever. And the thing about CEOs is, I think when they studied them, they found that they're much better at dealing with stress, and they don't tend to react to that as much. Like, they're just like, oh yeah, whatever. And it doesn't phase them. That's probably from practice, but it really stuck with me just how much, like, I know I'm the kind of person that if I had to declare bankruptcy, I would definitely be very stressed about that. I would definitely not be like chilling, relaxing, just living my life, you know, going on vacation. And that's the thing though, is if you really want to be super successful, you're going to have to learn to deal with that stress. And it may sound counterintuitive, like getting used to declaring bankruptcy will make me a success. And obviously, I'm not encouraging anyone to just declare bankruptcy for no reason. I know it has legal consequences, but my point is that sometimes it is such a power move to learn to deal with any heartbreak or pain or negative energy and just kind of like compartmentalize it. Like, that really is a skill that's so important to learn, is like, you may not have the power or control over that situation, but you do have the power and control over your mind. And you can choose deliberately to give into the worries, to start freaking out about it, to give into panic, to allow those low vibrational energies to take over, or to stay in a high vibrational place, focus on the positive, focus on the good. And sometimes that can be just as simple as like filling your life up with other things that will distract you, or other things that are positive and happy that you're excited to look forward to. So maybe instead of like staying in bed all day and just thinking about the problem and being so sad and listening to sad music, maybe getting up, going and getting yourself a latte and maybe like a croissant or something, and then, you know, walking around the city, or if you live in a small town, maybe driving somewhere to do something, or calling a friend or whatever, or going outside and going for a walk in nature. But there's so many things we can do to actively choose to focus on something else and to not let that take us over mentally. And we are the ones in control. We don't have to give in to negative self-talk, fatalistic talk, it's the end of the world kind of talk. We definitely don't have to focus on that. And I feel like that's something you guys may really be learning in this month of November, just how powerful your own mind is. And again, the magician knows this so intimately. It's really that energy of your personal power. And I feel like that's what you guys are discovering this month. So let me get into some more tarot cards for you, pile number one. So we got the Death card, the Two of Pentacles, the Six of Pentacles, the Nine of Wands, and the Sun. I love that the Sun is your final card. So positive. Yeah, this may be a month when also things are good for you financially. You may have to find a little bit of balance with the Two of Pentacles. You may be trying to work out some things or figure out some kind of a budget, but I do feel like you're very much thriving, and there may even be like a professional breakthrough, some kind of professional reward or achievement that you guys experience in your career. I feel like your career is doing really well, and I also feel like you may have more energy to pour into it, more time, and just kind of like whatever you want to do with it, you aren't waiting around or waiting for permission anymore. You have this boldness or this energy to you of like, yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do it. I feel like there's almost more of an awareness of time on your end as well, where maybe in the past you would have given yourself like, oh, I'll do it in 6 months or I'll do it in a year. And now you're like, okay, the time is now. I need to do it. Let's go. Let's just get it over with. I feel like that really spurs your like creativity, your action, your activity, and makes you just work a lot harder or makes you move things forward a lot stronger than maybe you did in the past. If you were taking your time in the past and just kind of like dawdling on certain things, that is not happening anymore. And I feel like you're really embracing this energy of let's go, let's do it. Let's not wait. Let's not sit around and talk. Let's actually make it happen. You may even be stepping out into the spotlight a little bit more with the Sun card coming out. Some of you guys may not be afraid to take center stage, or if there's been something you've been wanting to do that would maybe involve more of a public platform or showing yourself to the world more, you may really feel the need to start stepping into that or doing that, even if it's as simple as speaking up more at work or being more client facing and dealing with the clients one-on-one, or I don't know, posting something online, or even just updating your Instagram if you haven't in a long time. I feel like you are really just like, why am I deliberating this so much? Why am I wasting any time thinking about this when I should just go for it. I should just do it. And the time is now. And I feel like there's also, maybe this is because of Pluto finally going direct again, but I feel like for some of you guys, it's like you're really embracing this change or this new version of yourself that is just a lot less afraid and has a lot more self-belief. And I feel like that really causes a domino effect for you where you start seeing the sky as the limit instead of limiting yourself or thinking of all the things that it might not work out or the things that could go wrong. You start thinking of all the ways it could work out freaking amazing and all the things that you're going to be so great at and you're so talented at, and you have this deep self-belief that I feel like really starts to come through. Let me get into some message cards for you, pile one. So this one says, baby steps, action, follow your intuition before it makes sense. That makes a lot of sense with these Two of Wands and the Three of Wands. I feel like you are, in that energy of boldness. There's a boldness to the Two of Wands and the Three of Wands. Like I said, they're both ruled by Aries. And for you guys, I feel like it's like you're not in situations where you may have lacked the confidence, or you may have questioned yourself, or you may have wondered, can I stand on my own 2 feet? Can I do this on my own? I feel like you're really embracing, like, of course I can do it on my own. And of course I have this power. And of course I can go for it. And why have I been holding myself back? And some of that you realized was in your own head, your own inner beliefs, your own lack of self belief, or this idea or limiting mindset you had. It's funny because I mentioned it before, and I'm not trying to say I have like some perfect, beautiful voice or anything. But when I started this channel, I literally thought I had the ugliest voice ever. And I was like, yeah, everyone's going to have to listen to my voice. And I think I even mentioned it to a friend of mine. I was like, I mean, I know my voice sucks for YouTube, but whatever. And he was like, you have a really good voice. And I was like, no, that's not true. You don't have to lie to me, whatever. And I was just convinced. I was like, I know I have a bad voice. It is what it is. And then again, I'm not trying to say, oh, I have like the voice of an angel. But I have gotten a lot of comments on my channel about, I love your voice, whatever. And that has literally been the wildest thing to me, because anything I would have expected that would have been never even on the list, not even last on the list, never on the list. And I look back now and I think, wow, why did I ever think that? Like, that's so wild. I'm sure there's plenty of people that really don't like my voice and probably just leave the channel because of it and don't leave a comment. But there's a lot of people that do like my voice. And it's funny to me what a limiting belief that was for the longest time, where maybe I wouldn't ever sing in public, or I would be self-conscious of my voice, or maybe I might have, if it was really bad, not started the YouTube channel because of it, And it's so funny because I look back now, like, that was such a stupid limiting belief, and it was so not even true. And when we decide that we have the power to stop listening to those negative voices inside our head, and we have the power to take control, we have the power to decide what we want. And even if it's like, so what if I did have a bad voice anyway? I mean, who cares really? And it's also a matter of people's opinions. And when you stop kind of like looking for that validation from anyone else, or you stop allowing yourself to be dictated by this fear of what is someone else going to think of me, what is their judgment of me, that's when you really have true empowerment and true power. And I feel like that's what you guys are really stepping into in November. We also got You're Not Alone, Isolation, Physical Connection, Community, I'm Sorry, Defenselessness, Writing Past Wrongs, Uprooting, and Earth School, Life Lessons, Soul Growth, Study, Higher Learning. So there may be someone as well who may be regretting how they've treated you. They may be wanting to reach out to you as well. Maybe this connects with the Three of Swords for some of you guys. There may be someone who is very apologetic, or just feeling like they messed things up and kind of beating themselves up for that. I feel like you are starting to realize more and more that you don't deserve any mistreatment. You don't deserve someone who isn't going to treat you with a lot of respect. You don't deserve someone who is going to take you for granted, or just not really be there for you. You deserve someone who is going to make you feel amazing and adds value to your life. And I feel like you're really choosing to seek out those connections that remind you of that, or make you feel that way, instead of seeking out connections where you feel disempowered, or you don't feel really respected or loved or cherished. I feel like that's definitely something that by November, you guys are mastering that lesson, and it's coming up big time for you of, I deserve to be treated really well. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to feel like I'm empowered. I deserve to feel loved and respected and cherished and all those good things. So even if there's someone from your past that wants to step towards you, I feel like you're also very focused on your own journey, your own lessons. This Earth School card about how we come to this planet to learn certain lessons, and that none of us are like intended to be a servant for someone else. We are all on our own path, our own journey. And I feel like you are really stepping into embracing that, and embracing those lessons for yourself, and not tying yourself up into knots or trying to like dull yourself for someone else. So that is what I have for you, pile one. I really hope that resonates, guys. If you want to see more of my content, then be sure to check out my Patreon where I post all my additional readings. There are over 100 exclusive readings you'll only find on Patreon. I just posted one all about open channeled messages. Before that, there was one about your future spouse. There's so many different readings. I can't even really think of all the different topics we cover over there, but the link for that is underneath the timestamps if you want to join me on Patreon. You also get to have early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. So there's a lot of content over there. It's a great deal. If that sounds good to you, like I said, head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description and join me on Patreon. Also, if you would like to book a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, whether you're looking for a quick half-hour reading, a full hour-length reading, whether you want it to be pre-recorded or live, whether you want us to focus on tarot, astrology, channeling, a combination, you get to really choose how you want your session to go. So if that sounds good to you and you want to sign up, then head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very, very soon for another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, pile two, welcome to your reading. Let's get into your cards. So you guys got the Moon, the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Cups, and the King of Pentacles. So wow, this can be a really psychic month for you guys. You may be getting really intense downloads, and I'm feeling like I'm seeing the full moon or the new moon highlighted as like a period of big change. So obviously we are affected by certain moons or eclipses more than others, like if it's conjuncting or opposing a personal planet or squaring, then it's going to affect us more, especially if it's a tight conjunction or a tight aspect to a personal planet. And then there's certain new moons, full moons, and eclipses that just kind of randomly fall in some part of our chart. And of course, they still are going to affect things, but if they're not really touching any major planets, or not in a super important house for you, you may not even really notice that change. And then there's those new moons where it's like, oh my God, wow, that changed everything, or that full moon ended everything, or wow, things were never the same after that. And I feel like for you, what I'm hearing is there is some major change, breakthroughs, and I feel like endings as well. I feel like you're putting an end to certain things that it's almost like they've gone on for too long, and you've been tolerating them and trying to make it work, or trying to twist yourself into a pretzel and figure it out and somehow will it into existence. And I feel like now you're kind of like, okay, I've got to step out on my own. I've got to do my own thing. I cannot keep tolerating this, or I cannot continue under these certain circumstances. And I feel like for you, you're really ready. There's this strong boldness around this pile of, I'm going to do things my way. I'm going to be the master of my own destiny. This could even be like starting a new income stream, starting a new business, changing something with your job, demanding a raise. I feel like this month you guys really know your worth in a new level that you didn't in the past. And you're not going to second guess, or you're not going to gaslight yourself. You're not going to accept less in a way that you may have in the past. I feel like this is a month of, like I said, even expanding an income stream, or making more money, or demanding, like, you know, your worth. You know what I mean? That kind of energy of like, yeah, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's almost like if in the past, what's coming to my mind is working for free and then being like, no, I'm going to start charging or whatever. And I honestly think that is such a valuable thing to do in relationships, in general, or any situation. I think that sorry guys, I'm still a little sick, trying not to cough this whole time. But anyway, I feel like one of the things that women especially, but all kinds of people can do, is kind of like just end up being in a relationship or being at a job and never really paying attention to like, what am I getting out of this? Even like friendships, whatever, what am I actually getting out of this, you know? And one of the blessings I have experienced, the biggest blessing I think from YouTube and from doing tarot on here, is I realize now how much energy I used to give to like random people, friends, relationships, whatever, that was just not reciprocal and was like very much taken for granted. Like now the fact that I do tarot on here and people are excited for the readings and they would love to get guidance from me, it's such a blessing and has made me reevaluate so many conversations I would have with people where maybe I would be giving them advice or I would be giving them guidance or I would be channeling in retrospect like things that were going to happen, and they just really didn't care, they didn't really receive it. And it's so funny because I always think there is that dichotomy between when you actually start charging, when you actually start knowing your worth. I mentioned this before, but I've seen TikToks where they try to give away these bottles of water in New York City, and people will react all the time with being like, what's in this water? What do you mean it's free water? What's wrong with the water? It's so funny. It's perfectly good water, but people don't trust it because it's giving it away for free. And if they charged for it, I'm sure plenty of people would buy it. And that's a metaphor for life, because so much of the time we think, well, I'm sharing my gift or I'm helping someone or I'm just in this relationship and it's going to pay off one day. And a big thing in life is learning to actually kind of quantify how much work you're putting in and how much you're getting back. And there's nothing wrong as well with wanting something back or being self-focused, being self-interested, being someone that looks out for their own best interests. That's something a lot of women and men are kind of guided against doing, but I definitely think the pressure is on for women, especially in relationships, to kind of overgive and figure it out. And if you don't get anything back, that's okay. When I really think you have to be intentional about that. Again, now that I do YouTube, it's like I have to be more intentional. I have to, I value my subscribers, I value my Patreon people, and my private clients. So it's like in the past, maybe I would be completely fine with staying up late till like 2 a.m. with a good friend of mine who just went through a breakup, and she's, this is like the fifth time she's broken up with this guy, and she's wanting to have some wine and talk and, cry about him. And then she's going to take him back a few days later. And I go home, at 2 a.m. and I'm kind of drunk from the wine and I'm like, not feeling great the next day and whatever. But I used to be like, oh, that's fine. Like, that's okay. And that's part of a friendship. But now I just really don't have the space in my life. And I know if I'm super tired the next day, then that creates a domino effect. And the fact that I know the time it takes me to film my readings, I know the time it takes me to do a private reading or whatever, that makes me kind of quantify and look into like, is this really serving me? Because if it holds me back from giving a reading to the collective, then why would I do this one reading for a friend of mine, even if she's really in need, if I can't help other people collectively, which is probably more important. You know what I mean? Because of the sheer numbers. Anyway, I'm not trying to just make it all about me, but I think I wish everyone could almost have something like that, because it really transformed how I viewed it. I used to really be that overgiver that really thought you have to spend so much time on people and whatever. And I realized now I was really not acting out of a place of my best self-interest. And I think so many empathic people, so many people in the spiritual community do that. And not only do they do that, but they actually make it a virtue. They make it into this beautiful thing like, oh my gosh, I stopped and I talked to a homeless person for 6 hours yesterday. But it's like, of course that's good and we want to be compassionate, but we also have to make sure we're also respecting our own boundaries. We're respecting our own needs. We're respecting the needs of our body. Like I said, even if that friend, she really needs to talk to you and she wants to have a couple bottles of wine, if you're going to feel so hungover the next day, then that's not respecting yourself. If you are stressed about something and something's on your mind and it's a very one-sided conversation and you feel even more stressed after because you didn't get to share anything and you were talking about their problems the whole time, again, that's not respecting your own needs. And being kind of like very transactional to a certain extent, I think really is actually a major key way to start building your best life and to make your manifestations happen, instead of just blindly going through it and just kind of allowing these relationships to be whatever they're going to be, or these jobs or whatever, and really not paying attention to like, what do I get out of it? A lot of people, that's a trend now. And people talk about like with Gen Z, that Gen Z has no loyalty towards companies or whatever. But I think you're seeing that trend of people really learning that I have to be self-interested because these companies don't care about me. And certain times in certain relationships, friendships, whatever, these people don't care about me. So if I'm not looking out for myself, again, not to the point of being detrimentally selfish, but if I am not able to say, no, sorry, this is a boundary, I can't work late, or sorry, I can't talk right now about, your fifth breakup with this same guy this month. I have to, I have to do things on my own life. Then, that really allows for a lot of disruption and a lot of kind of like feeling even unsafe, when you don't allow yourself to put up boundaries, you're sending that message to yourself that I'm not really that important. This person is more important than me. And I'm at the bottom of this totem pole. And I'm kind of like, it's like a servant energy. It's like a servant mindset to be in, where you think, I have to serve, I have to do this for all these other people. And again, I always mention, but the sun is exalted in Aries. The sun is exalted when we look out for our best interest. And I just mentioned that because the sun is kind of the overall placement you want to look at for your life, your destiny. It is our soul. And so, what could be a better example that our guides, angels, ancestors want us to focus on ourselves than the sun being in Aries? And I also have noticed a lot of the most predatory types of people will be the ones that ask you or expect you to give away your own self-interest. Or if you try to say like, no, I don't want that, they'll guilt you or they'll try to make you feel bad. Anyone who is offering a product that they really believe in is never going to be like pressuring you, or anyone who is genuinely acting in a way that they think is going to benefit you is never going to like try to twist your arm into it. It's only the people that are trying to get you to do something that benefits them that are going to be mad about it. Like for me, with my private readings, if someone doesn't want a private reading, I would never ever care to argue with them. I'd be like, great, I only want people anyway who are aligned, you know? And I think in general, if someone's like pushing you, breaking down your boundaries, trying to tell you, you have to do this, or you should do this, or don't you feel so sorry for me? Don't you feel bad for me? That's kind of a red flag immediately about why are you operating from a place of your self-interest? Why is that allowed for you, but I'm not allowed to do the same, you know? So anyway, I just feel like the message for you guys this month is empowerment. And there's a theme around really taking stock of all the things you've been doing for others. And then what am I getting out of it? What am I getting back? Because if I'm getting absolutely nothing, then that's kind of dumb, low key. You know what I mean? And yeah, a lot of times too, any relationship, any job that's built on that foundation is a house of cards. When I look back at the friendships that I had that were built on that kind of vibe of, oh, I'm going to talk you through your problems and it's all about you and I don't mind, whatever. It's like, of course, as soon as I stepped into a more empowered energy, those relationships just completely disappeared because a lot of people, they only want you for what they can get out of you, whether that's in a romantic relationship, whether that's in a friendship. They only are thinking about their own self-interest, and especially empathic people or people who are, very open to other people's moods. They can really end up twisting themselves out of place in order to make that other person happy, partially because when you are empathic, you feel other people's energy. So if they're distressed, sorry guys, my voice is still really not back to normal. If they're distressed, if they are upset about it, then we feel that energy as negative for ourselves. We feel guilty, we feel their sadness. And again, that's why it's also important to just put up energetic walls and to not even notice that, not even pay attention to that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I feel like for you guys, there's this beautiful ace, double ace energy, ace of wands, ace of cups. That could be a new relationship. Definitely could be a new relationship of any kind, like a fun, like hookup relationship or a very serious relationship. I feel like for you guys, there is something so new that wants to come in. And a lot of that is based around that kind of ace of wands energy of running in and taking what's yours and not putting yourself into a corner or tamping yourself down or trying to smooth over your edges, but being as bold and as brave as you possibly can, being as colorful as you possibly can, and being as authentic as you possibly can, and learning how to advocate for yourselves. One's energy is fire energy, and I always think fire is just inherently a selfish energy. And I don't mean that as an insult. I actually think we should re kind of like change our definition or our perception of the word selfish, because a lot of times I actually mean it as a compliment. Maybe because I have Venus in Aries and I have a seventh house Leo, but so I really like fire energy and I love the selfishness of it. I always say I love having like fire sign people around me too, because that's the thing. When someone is kind of selfish, you also know that they genuinely like you. When someone's at Aries and they're hanging out with you, you know that they actually really like you, that they're not faking, you know, they're not just pretending, they're not just like saying the right things, because they're not really capable of that. They're so impulsive and self-centered that if it's not serving them, they're not going to stick around. And so you know that if they're hanging with you, they genuinely like you. And I feel like for you guys, this is just really about stepping into that energy of what do I want in my life and what is not serving me, what is not serving my goals. To a certain extent, it's even paying attention to what is my mood. If you're going into a job, a workplace, and you're feeling like, oh my God, this is so dysfunctional, or I know this is, I just feel awful, or I just feel so stressed out, or, you know, I think that this workplace is really dysfunctional, then it's something to pay attention to. You know, I sorry. I mentioned this before, but the job I had that was the worst job ever, and it literally kicked off such a period of growth. So I'm very grateful to that job. And it really shined a light for me on my tendencies that were negative tendencies. But yeah, I knew that job was so dysfunctional. I mentioned it before, but they actually fired me on Christmas Eve. They had me stay in for Christmas, which I was like, okay. And I called my family. I was like, yeah, I can't come home. I'm working on Christmas, but whatever. I need to do this. I need to commit. And then I got fired on Christmas freaking Eve. It was such a depressing Christmas. I also then got really sick with the bad illness that was going around in 2020. So anyway, I ended up, it was like a double whammy of just the worst, most depressing Christmas ever. It was an early case or whatever. But the point is I feel like when I got, what really bothered me the most, and I think Oprah has talked about this, she said, you know, the worst thing about betrayal is not the person betraying you, it's you betraying yourself. And I felt that way because when I got fired, I thought, you know what? I knew, I saw the writing on the wall, and it's almost ridiculous to tell people about all the flaws at that workplace. When I tell people, they almost sometimes don't believe me, or they'll be like, wait, what? Because there were so many illegal things happening at that company. For example, we were all independent contractors, which is illegal to not, that's like a way of getting out of giving someone insurance and blah, blah, blah. So that's illegal because we were not doing independent contractor work. Also, we weren't really allowed to take breaks, take lunch. Like no one took lunch. So you technically could take lunch, but if you did, it was like a big deal. There were so many things. There were two people who got into a literal fist fight in the office. In the office, they got into like a physical fight. And there were like all these racial slurs thrown around during the fight. So many things that if there was an HR department, like it was such a dysfunctional workplace, everyone would have been like fired and that whole workplace would have been shut down, right? And when I think about the lack of professionalism in that office, in the way that people were treated in general, in like this demeaning, kind of degrading way, it's like, how could I ever have been surprised that then that happened on Christmas Eve? Because how the general vibe of how everyone else gets treated, of course, it's going to eventually land on you, or the general vibe of just the energy around you, the dysfunction. But I remember just making, like, I think doing such a Pisces thing and just kind of being like, well, I think everyone's trying to change, and everyone apologized, and everyone said they felt bad about the fight, and then, yeah, you know, it's going to be okay. And I think she can't really help the boss that she has anger issues and she screams at clients and blah, blah, blah. And there were so many stupid excuses. And I only bring this up because I feel like so many of us have this amazing power of rationalization. Like we can just create the most ridiculous excuses and stories to justify a certain situation, even if we know it's wrong. You know, the moon card is kind of about that, because the moon, similar to Pisces energy, is very like, can look at things through a little delusion, a little bit of fog, a little bit of mist. It can kind of cast things so you can't kind of see them accurately. And that's why one of the best indications is, how do I feel? Because I remember getting anxiety every time I would go into that office and feeling anxious, feeling nervous when the boss was around, feeling like, oh my God, like, what is she gonna say? Like, I wasn't allowed to listen to even music on my headphones or anything. Contrast that to one of my friends who was able to like watch Netflix while she was working, because she was doing a mindless job that was kind of like, she had to type in a lot of information similar to what I was doing. But the boss was so irrational. She couldn't stand anyone being on their headphones or anything, even if they were just listening to music, classical music, a podcast, anything. She was super irrational. And again, I think so much of the time, it's like, what kind of boundaries do we have for ourselves? What kind of goal do we have for ourselves? What are we allowing ourselves to experience? And what are we setting up as like a firm boundary? Like, that's not okay. And that's why it's sometimes good to set boundaries in advance, or to pay attention to, what am I getting out of this? And to take a kind of rational look at things, and to look as well at our energy. Am I feeling happy around this person? Am I feeling depleted? Am I feeling aligned? Am I feeling excited? Or do I feel really drained? Do I feel panicked? Do I have anxiety? And that can be your tool. Because again, when I look back, I knew that job was always dysfunctional. I would have had to been so stupid not to know that. But again, I kind of had all the wishful thinking and like, oh, yeah, she didn't mean it. Like, well, yeah, the boss was really crazy. She screamed in someone's face today, but you know, she did apologize later. And it's like, wow, that was so wild. And I think that's why I was mad at myself, or that's why I was so upset when that happened on Christmas Eve, was because I was like, I knew the whole time. How could I have not known? Anyone would know. What an idiot I was. And I think in a way that was a huge lesson, though, that when you sense something is off, or when you get the vibe that this is not right, there's no need to make justifications. There's no need to cross your fingers. And you also have to kind of accept a situation as it is, right? Like, so much of the time we hope someone's going to magically change. I remember even after there was that fist fight in the office, like the boss came over and apologized to me and was like telling me how sorry she was, which I thought was strange. I'm like, I wasn't in the fight. So like, maybe apologize to the people who were actually in the fight, because they were the ones who got hit, not me. But I think I took that as like, oh, so she wants to change. So she realizes it's dysfunctional, and you know, so hopefully things are going to change in the office. And I should have just taken it as like, absolutely not. This is crazy. Well, let me leave. And I feel like so much of the time, that's the thing. We make justifications, we make excuses, we cross our fingers, we just hope it's going to work out. And really, we have to realize we are the agents of our own change. We are the ones that can put up boundaries, and really the only ones who can put up boundaries. So, you know, that's something we need to make sure we are definitely doing. Let's get some more cards for you. Up from the depths, releasing difficulty, emotional desert, inactivity, isolation, conscious steps, considered action, looking forward, past life guides, karmic lessons, present assistance. Wow, there's so many interesting cards. First of all, releasing difficulty. Again, I think another part of it is our expectations and what we think is normal. When I look back at like that job, I think, how did I ever think that was normal? And especially talking to friends I have who have like really cushy jobs, and you know, they have a great workplace and they're super happy with it. And I think, why did I ever relegate myself to working in a place that was just so completely out of control? And I think so much of the time, we kind of don't have those boundaries up, or we don't set the standards for ourselves, or we just expect it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult. Meanwhile, someone else who has the mindset of like, of course I deserve to work in a great workplace, of course I deserve to have a great job, they're going to be the ones who apply for that job and know they deserve it, and know they deserve to get paid for lunch, and know they deserve to get a great vacation, and know they deserve to be able to, you know, work from home if they want to, or whatever the case may be. But they have those high standards standards for themselves, so they are never going to tolerate the BS. And the great thing about that is we can change our mindset. We are not forced to live in that place of expecting the least or feeling like we just deserve to struggle or that's just how it is. It's so funny. Again, whenever I think of that job, I think of my friend's job because it was just such a great workplace and she really loved it. And the people who worked there loved her as well. They offered to pay for her education. And I mean, it would have cost over $100,000 for her to get this extra degree. They offered to pay for that. She was able to watch Netflix or whatever she wanted while she was working, obviously within reason. But the point is she had this amazing kind of situation for herself. And I think a lot of that is because that's the standard you set for yourself. If you are not going to tolerate the BS and not going to tolerate people getting in a fist fight next to you, and you're going to quit when that happens, then you are going to mentally and energetically align with a job that treats you a lot better. And I feel like for you guys, this is about maybe raising your standards for yourself, maybe even setting down and making yourself a list or some kind of vision board or writing down qualities you demand in your next job or your next relationship, whatever this is. And again, taking these conscious steps. I love this card for you guys. Considered action looking forward. So much of the time when we're just going through life, we're not being super intentional. We're just kind of taking things as they are and just kind of accepting whatever it is. That's when we can get into a really dangerous situation. That's when we can end up just kind of miring in some kind of dysfunction and just wandering around, and it's kind of pointless, And when we can be really deliberate about it, when we can really set our sights on this is what I want and this is how I want it to look, this is how I want to feel, and realize, again, changing our mindset so that we do have that abundance mindset and realize that the universe has endless options. So just like the universe has a million bad jobs that are draining and horrible, it also has a million good jobs that we're going to be loved, we're going to love, and we're going to feel fulfilled in, we're going to enjoy. So if one isn't working out, not being afraid to step into that other energy and being very careful and deliberate about what we allow into our lives, the boundaries we set. Also, this karmic lessons energy, sometimes, like I said, I always tell this joke by Joel Osteen, who I personally think is so funny. I think because we have the same sun-moon combination, but I don't know, I think he's so funny. But he always tells this joke about how the good news is if you don't learn the lesson the first time, you get to take it again and again and again. And I feel like that's so true in life. And that was the thing. I kind of learned the lesson about setting boundaries with friends at the same time as that job. And I thought, this is such a lesson for me about not just allowing situations to happen and tolerating them, but to be really careful and intentional and know what I deserve and to leave when I sense that someone's not capable of giving that to me. For whatever reason, there doesn't even need, I think I also would feel guilty. Like, I think I low-key felt guilty in that workplace. Like, oh, well, they're really trying. They can't help that this place is dysfunctional. And I don't know, I don't want to just like up and quit and never come in again. And I look back now thinking, I absolutely should have done that. No one had any loyalty to me. So, and so much of the time we guilt ourselves into these situations, be it a relationship, be it a job. We limit ourselves, we allow other people to play on our emotions, and we have to be very intentional and careful about that. Let's get into some more tarot for you. So we got the Hermit, the Ten of Pentacles, the Six of Wands, the Justice card, and the Ace of Pentacles. Oof, so much to unpack here. I feel like the Justice card, again, is kind of something I already covered, but the Libra energy of the Justice card shows those two scales that need to be balanced. And that's something Libra loves because Libra rules the 7th house of relationships. And when you think about the best relationships, they're equals, right? And they are not completely lopsided. And there's so much wisdom to unpack from all the astrological glyphs and symbols and everything. And for you guys, I feel like that message, again, is so much of the time we overgive in relationships. And I'm not just talking about romantic, I'm talking about the relationships at work, I'm talking about relationships with friends or parents, whatever. We overgive, and we just expect that to be the norm. We just think that's just how it is. And maybe deep down inside, we think, I don't think I'm lovable enough if I'm just on my own, if I'm just me, if I'm just in my own energy. I think in a way that was why I was okay with that job versus my friend who had the great job. I think she has way higher standards for herself, and I was way more in the like, I'll take whatever I can get energy. And so the universe was like, oh, you'll take whatever you can get, bet. Let's give you the worst job ever. So yeah, I feel like that's a lot of times what it comes from, is that feeling that I have to overgive in order to have value, whether it's romantically, whether it's career wise. If I'm just me, if I'm just on my own, maybe there's this deep fear that no one's going to like me and I'm going to be by myself. And that's why it can be such a powerful moment in our spiritual growth to actually embrace a hermit moment. So to be like, okay, if I'm on my own, then good. You know what I mean? If I have to overgive in all my friendships in order to make them work, then maybe I'm just going to be alone for a while. Maybe I won't go to so many social engagements. And if I don't get called and invited because I stopped being willing to engage in this behavior and in these lopsided relationships, then you know what? That's fine. And I'll enjoy my own company. And there's such a power in that, because you also realize this thing you've been terrified of like, what if no one loves me? What if I get fired and I can't have any job? And it's like, you know what? It's actually going to be okay. And I bet there will be another job to choose from. I know there will be, because the universe does have endless abundance. So I am going to prioritize myself. I am going to make sure that I am okay with standing alone and not operating out of that place of fear or anxiety or feeling not good enough. I do feel like with the 10 of Pentacles, you guys may be earning a lot of money this month. You guys may be really raking it in. There may be a very celebratory energy as well. With the Four of Wands, there could be a really great party to go to or something like that. And another ace we got for you guys. How exciting, the Ace of Pentacles. So again, I'm definitely sensing there could be a beautiful new income stream for you guys. There could be a beautiful new way you have to make some money, to make some cash. That could be something that the money starts rolling in for you guys this month. And I feel like the more you prioritize yourself, the more that's going to happen. Let me get into some message cards for you to end this reading on. So we got star bathing, light body, crystal grid, transmission, activation. This one is I remember, soul plan, the fated life versus destiny life. Okay. Double mission, light worker, star seed, serve the world by being you. And the great severing, Mars energy, anger, conflict, softening to love. So a lot of the things that we do, by the way, that are like dysfunctions also come from past lives. This is definitely coming up with this past life guide and then this I remember card. You know, so much of the time when we're acting in a certain way that maybe we're like, this doesn't make any sense, it may come from our past life. I know for me, like I have a Virgo South Node. And if you have a Virgo or a sixth house South Node, you can definitely be in that energy of like servant energy, overly servile, overly like, what can I do for everyone else? And it can be very dysfunctional because the South Node is often dysfunction. It's not necessarily like the highest representation of that energy. So it's usually something we're supposed to work through, you know? And I feel like for you guys, that's, you know, that's such an important thing to unpack. It may not be that exact form of dysfunction that I had, but it may be another form of dysfunction. It may be a way you have of being in relationships that isn't quite functional, or something you accept, or something you know is out of bounds that you continue to engage in. And I do feel like this energy for you, your focus in November should be on working through that. And again, the more awake you are, the more intentional, the more aware you can be of what's going on. I mean, really, dysfunction thrives in lack of awareness. Whenever you shine a light on something, that's when you're forced to like address it. And I feel like for you guys, this is a month about really stepping into your power, really knowing what you deserve. And I love this message, serve the world by being you. That's the thing. Anytime you're having to twist yourself into a pretzel, change who you are, tolerate really bad behavior, just know that that is not your light worker mission, okay? The light worker mission is not going to have that stanky energy around it of like, oh, I have to change myself. Oh, this is so demoralizing. Oh, I really don't feel very good. Of course, there's difficulty in a light worker mission, but ultimately you do feel empowered. Ultimately, you do feel like you're being true to yourself. You're being honest to your soul and you are being authentic. And if there's anything that you're doing that's taking you out of that or making you feel like you have to become some other person or that you're not allowed to advocate for yourself, that is not your light worker mission. So, really, I think this is your message to focus on yourself and really to use this month of November as a time to step into your own empowerment and to realize your own power and to discard anything that is taking you out of that. So, that is what I have for you. Pile number 2. I really hope that resonates, guys. If you want to see more of my readings, then be sure to head to my Patreon where there are over 100 exclusive readings. You also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. So you get the exclusive content as well as the early YouTube content. I just posted a reading that's open channeled messages. And before that, there was a reading about your future spouse. I can't remember all the readings because I post new ones all the time. And honestly, I've been sick, so I haven't been able to film as much lately, but we're back to our posting schedule, especially I'm going to be posting a lot on Patreon over the next couple of weeks to make up for the time lost. Anyways, if you're interested in joining and signing up, then head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description and join me over on Patreon. Also, if you're interested in booking a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, and you can get a quick half-hour reading, a full hour-length reading. You can get a pre-recorded reading or a live reading. You can have it be tarot-focused, astrology, open channeling. You get to really customize your session, so it's the perfect reading for you. If that sounds good, then head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very, very soon for another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, pile 3, welcome to your reading. So you guys got the King of Wands, the 3 of Cups, 5 of Wands, 7 of Cups, and the 7 of Swords. So with the King of Wands leading off this reading, this should be a powerful month for you guys. And one thing about the King of Wands is he's very intentional with his energy. He knows what he wants and he's not afraid to ask for it. I feel like boundaries could be a theme for you this month. There is also a really strong emphasis around you guys spending time with family, friends, loved ones, and really making that a priority. So the boundaries could come in either when you're with these people, you need to have some boundaries, or there need to be boundaries enforced when it comes to like scheduling this. Like maybe you ask for time off work so you can go to your friend's wedding, or so you can like go home and see family, and you know, your boss pushes back and says like, oh, well, I can't give you that weekend off or something. And you have to really be assertive about like, no, I need that time off, or this is, no, like that's what I need to do. But I feel like you're kind of learning how you can make boundaries or how you can effectively kind of fight for what you want. And maybe that's by direct conflict with this 5 of Wands, or by kind of subterfuge and more sneaky tactics with the 7 of Swords. But I feel like either way, you're really learning almost that you have a right to ask for the things you want, and that, you know, it's not crazy, or you're not out of line, or you're not being too demanding or selfish or anything like that. So I feel like a major theme for you is just leaning into this energy of being unafraid to ask, being unafraid to go after it, and to do the things you enjoy. There's also an emphasis whenever you have the wands, like wands energy lives very much in the moment. It's a very like instinctual energy. It's like, I want this, so I'm doing it. It's not an overthinking energy. It's not an astral plane energy as much. It's very much in the moment and kind of grounded in the body a little bit. And so I feel like for you guys, this is also a month when you are going to be really asked to listen to your desires, listen to how your heart is speaking to you and what your heart is saying to you. I used to go to this little botanica, and they would have these candles that were your heart's deepest desires. And you would write like your 3 different desires on the candle, like from love, career, I guess, and something else, or your heart's desire, your mind's desire, and some other body parts desire, some other chakra. But I just loved that because I often feel like so many of us have desires that we have, but it's almost like we can't even admit them to anyone else or even admit them to ourselves. Like so much of the time, maybe someone dreams of being a movie star, but they're so embarrassed by that, or they're like, no, but it's so lame. And, obviously becoming a movie star requires certain things that are out of our control or do have certain constraints on them. We see that with how many are Nepo babies, that it is not a meritocracy or anything like that. But there's also, I always think it's so important to get to the bottom whenever you feel a desire. That's so exciting. Abraham Hicks calls them rockets of desire, and they're always a direction, a point in the right direction, like spirit telling you, oh, like this is something for you. But I always think it's worth interrogating whatever that is. You might find that, what do you really want about being a movie star? Maybe when you dream about being a movie star, you're not actually dreaming about being an actor on set. You're dreaming about the interview process after and being on the red carpet with beautiful clothes and, people calling your name. In which case, there may be another way to go about that. Maybe it would be a lot easier to just launch a TikTok account and show off your fashion, and you might get a following that way, and you wouldn't even have to go to acting school and do all that boring stuff that's way out of your control. You know what I mean? And that's just one metaphor. But so much of the time, we may have a desire, and instead of just allowing it to be what it's going to be, we kind of just dismiss it as like, oh, that's ridiculous. Or maybe someone's dreaming of being a writer and they really are obsessed with I want to be a writer. But what they're actually dreaming of is having a career that's somewhat flexible and creative, or that just also allows them to tell people in, a restaurant when they meet someone new and have that person be impressed and be like, oh, you're a writer. Oh, wow. And getting some of that acclaim, getting some of that fame in a way, being known as being smart, but they don't have to do it in a cringy way by being a reality TV star or something, you know what I mean? So that it's okay, that's an allowed way, that's a highbrow way. But it's really important to question, what is it that I'm honestly wanting about this? What is it that has captured my attention? Because it's going to be, if your heart really isn't in writing and you keep pushing yourself, I need to be a writer, then that's going to be a really difficult process. And if you just say, what I really want is to be able to impress people at a cocktail party and tell them that I'm a writer and see their eyes open up and be like, oh my God, oh, and you want a writing prize? Wow, you're so smart. Because if that's the case, there's probably an easier way to go about it. You could even just lie for a night and probably scratch that itch and tell everyone yeah, go up to some strangers at a bar and be like, yes, I'm a best-selling author. And even if it's nonsense, at least you've done that, and now that's over, and you won't have to pursue that for the rest of your life when you hate writing, just because you want that moment of being able to tell people, oh yeah, I'm a writer, or maybe there's an easier intellectual job you could have to go about it. Maybe you don't actually need to publish some huge novel. Maybe you can start a Substack, or you can, start a YouTube commentary channel, or who knows, there's lots of different ways to go about doing that. Maybe you want that feeling of yeah, I'm smart and I'm intelligent. And maybe you could actually go back to law school and get that. And then you'll be just as happy telling people, yeah, I'm a lawyer, as you would, I'm a writer. And it's up to you to really interrogate, what is it in this thing that keeps calling to me that is the appeal? What am I looking at? What is the little kernel inside of this? Just like you peel a nut, when you get a walnut or something, you got to crack it open and pull it out. That's the vibe I'm getting for you guys, that there is maybe something that you guys have wanted, and maybe this is the month when you really go after it boldly and strongly. And again, there's never any wrong answer. A lot of people will cloak their desires because they don't want to seem cringy. So like I said, instead of just saying, oh yeah, I just want to be famous, I just want to be an influencer, they'll be like, oh no, I'm not interested in that, but I will be a writer. Or, well, I am going to do social commentary. I'm going to have my big Twitter account and make social justice commentary. But what they're really after is just celebrity. They just want some fame. They just want some validation. And if they can figure out what that is, then they could go and actually pursue that directly instead of taking this roundabout path, because also people can sense what's disingenuous. And so much of the time too, that thing you may be pursuing, whether it's money, fame, whatever, it may not be as gratifying as you think. So that's why it's going to be really important to just get down into the depths of this is what I want. This is the kind of life I want. And to be brutally honest with yourself, not telling yourself, I really want a relationship. I really want to be married. If all you want is that validation from people telling you, that's great that you're married. Oh, I love that your husband and you are such a cute couple, and you want that stamp of approval, realizing that that's probably not going to be so gratifying and is probably going to be kind of hollow compared to the day-to-day reality of living with someone in a relationship if you're not actually that into it. You might just want to figure that one out early so you don't actually have to get married and have all the legal consequences and have kids with the person. And then that's a 20-year, consequence that you have to deal with. So my point is like, whatever you want, you can have any kind of life, but you just have to be honest. And I feel like the message for you guys here in the month of November is really about being honest with yourself, really about getting real and being 100% true, 100% genuine about whatever it is, and being honest with yourself first and foremost. And then I feel like if you guys are able to do that, there is this energy in the month of November that there's such power for manifesting. The King of Wands, a lot of tarot readers connect it with the Magician card. So it really is a master, super powerful manifestor card. And actually, the Magician shows a wand being pointed towards the heavens. And if you think about it, a lot of magicians use wands, right? They're not the exact same as the wands in tarot, but because the wands in tarot are actually kind of fighting wands, but they can have dual purposes. But that's my point. They could have used anything that the Magician was holding. They could have used any of the elements. They chose wands because there's such a power in that fire energy that when fire wants to bring something into the world, they're going to do it, and they're going to be uncompromising about it. They're not going to overthink. They're not going to wait. They're not going to kind of sit around and be very cautious. They are going to just go for it. And there's such a power in doing that. So if there's something you guys have been wanting to do for a long time or putting off or procrastinating, this may be the month when you guys are willing to fully embrace it and fully do it. And now, whether that is you want to launch a different business, a side hustle, do something different in your career, whether it is you want to confess your love to someone and tell them that you actually have feelings for them, whatever the case may be, I feel like this month of November, this is the month for you guys to go for it and for you guys to actually make it happen. So let's get into some more cards for you guys. So we got Beneath the Surface, Hidden Truth, Something Unknown, Journey Guide, Travel, Change in Location, Prophets and Ancient Seers, Decisions, Predictive Guidance, Creation, Soul Expression, Something New, and Letting Go of Urgency, Surrender, Freedom from Time Constraints. So you guys may be very psychic and intuitive at this time. You may really be getting a lot of downloads with this Prophets and Ancient Seers card. You may feel like you are able to really kind of read the tea leaves in your life, so to speak, and know what's going on and get those downloads very deeply into your core and be able to read every situation. I feel like for some of you guys, there is a strong emphasis too on travel or change in location, or if there has been a change that you've been wanting to make, I almost feel like for some of you guys, this is laying down like a firm boundary. Maybe this is your boss has been asking you to work late and you've been doing it and you've really wanted to say no, but you haven't. And now this is the month when you're going to be like, excuse me, I cannot work late anymore. No, I'm done with this. And you actually are willing to have the conversation. Or there's a relationship that you've known you needed to cut off for a while and you've kind of been dragging it out and you've been afraid to leave. And now you're like, okay, it's time for me to do this. I cannot keep biding my time. I cannot keep dragging my feet with this. I have to just go for it and I have to just do it. I feel like there's also a boldness with you and an embracing of the unknown. I love this Hidden Truths, Something Unknown card. If there's been, sometimes I think that's the thing that holds us back the most about changes is the unknown. It's we don't want to change that status quo. We do not want to sometimes know what's on the other side of that door, even when it might be great. I've made that metaphor before of the time that I was staying in this hotel. I really liked my room. Everything was great, except there was this really loud noise every morning at 7 a.m. sounded like a grinding noise or something. And I was like, what is that? It was like a mechanical loud noise. And so finally I went down to the front desk and I'm like, is there anything that can be done about this noise at 7 a.m.? I don't think it's coming from a guest. It sounds kind of mechanical and big. And they were like, oh, yeah, no, I don't think there is. We could move rooms. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to move rooms. I'm a Cancer moon and I get kind of attached to like my spaces. I also didn't want to like have to pack up all my toiletries, all my clothes again. So I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm good. I'll just deal with the noise at 7 a.m. and it's cool. But it would wake me up every morning. Obviously, I'm on vacation, try to sleep in. And finally, the next day, they asked me, like, did the noise go away? I'm like, no. And they insisted that I move, which I was really kind of annoyed by. Like, I'm like, okay, now I'm being forced to move. I should have the choice, right? That's how I was thinking. So I'm like, so I was disgruntled packing my stuff up, and they had moved me to such a beautiful room. It was like a way better view. I was so worried because I was like, I like my view. I have a really pretty window out along the beach and it's gorgeous. And I know I'm just not going to get this same room. And I thought this is just going to be a loss. I was so attached to that room and thinking of all these negative outcomes. What if the new room has a mold? What if the new room is even louder? Blah, blah, blah. And the new room was so much better. It was so much better. It actually had floor to ceiling windows and I could see even more of the water. And I was like, wow, this was such an upgrade. Like, this was so great. But there was such fear in me when I was packing to move. I was so not into that. I was so not happy. And I kept assuming the worst. And I think so much of the time we sometimes hold our blessings back. Like, even when someone is obsessing over an ex or they keep thinking about an ex, a lot of times it's because they haven't learned or they haven't allowed themselves to think of all the positive possible future outcomes. Like, yes, you had love with that ex, and that's completely valid. But also, if you were able to experience that with that person, then imagine how much better you're going to be able to experience it with the right person. And like I always say, the universe has endless abundance. So whenever we're in that energy of being afraid of like, what's going to happen next? Oh God, I don't know if I want to do that. That is not acting out of a place of true empowerment. One thing about the King of Wands is he is never afraid to lean into it, to go for it, to try. He's always going to have that energy of like, yeah, why not? And I feel like for you guys, this is really a month when you are ready to create something new. You are ready as well to advocate for yourself and your best interests, what you want, what you need. And the first step with that is, of course, asking yourself that question, what do I want? What would make me happy? And also admitting to yourself that you deserve to be happy and taking stock of how you feel, taking stock of how a situation makes you feel. If you feel constantly exhausted by a certain situation, drained, if you do not feel in your best energy around a certain situation, then that is a powerful message that that situation is probably not for you. And especially if you have a choice in it. Obviously, sometimes you go through periods where, I don't know, maybe you can't sleep because of the moon, something the moon is doing, or you're just at a busy stage in work or whatever, and it's temporary. But like, if you're always exhausted around a certain person, place, or thing, that is such a powerful message that that is not for you. And maybe as scary as it is, it's time to embrace something new. It's time to embrace the unknown and start even allowing ourselves to think of how much better it can get instead of thinking of the worst case scenario or how it's not going to work out, all those bad things, And let's get some more tarot. So we got the Nine of Pentacles, the Six of Wands, whoops, the Seven of Pentacles, the King of Wands, and we got the Moon card. Wow. So with the Nine of Pentacles coming in and the Seven of Pentacles, there may be something paying off, maybe something that you've been working on for a while, maybe something that you've been pouring your energy into that is ready to pay off now in the month of November. There may be something that you're even being celebrated for with the Six of Wands. You might get some kind of public validation, public celebration. Oh, we got double King of Wands and they came out on top of each other. I didn't even notice. That's so cool. Yeah, wow. So there is a strong, and it's funny because this card, I talked so much about it because it was really sticking out to me for this reading. But yeah, there is a strong energy of you being celebrated. And even like the more selfish you are or the more self-focused you are, the more you will attract those blessings. Sometimes we think if we sacrifice ourselves, if we give in to someone else's desires, if we prioritize other people over us, then we will get those blessings. But most of the time, it's the opposite. It is the energy of being uh, self-focused and self-driven that can actually be super charismatic, and people can tell that energy. It's kind of like, you would think intuitively, well, if I price this bag super expensive, no one's going to want to buy it because there's too many boundaries up. But the reality is, for the right person, that's going to make them want that bag even more. The more boundaries you have up, this is why people will get on waiting lists for Hermes bags for like 10 years, and they'll buy up lots of different stock from Hermes, like lots of little knickknacks and little like dishes and tiny little household items, because that's the way you can get on the list of the Hermes bag. So they will spend so much money just to be on the waiting list. And the more complicated, the more steps they put in, the more they make it exclusive and no, you can't buy this, the more people want to, the more people make a big deal out of it. And there's a lesson there. So much of the time we are afraid that if we don't just have this kind of open policy of letting anyone in or doing what other people want, that they are not going to value us, when actually the reverse is true. People can sense an energy that values itself, and when they sense that, they know that if you value yourself that much, you must be valuable. So they are going to, if anything, step up to the plate more, try to do more, want us more. And there is literally no reason to lower our standards, to lower what we expect or what we demand for ourselves. I feel like you guys are also going to be seeing things super clearly this month. You guys got the moon card coming out over this prophets and ancient seers card. So you are very psychic in the month of November, and the veil is super thin at this time of year. And you may just be getting a lot of downloads. This may be a really good month for you to create and keep a dream journal, to meditate, to listen to what your guides are saying. There's also a message from your guides for someone. They want you guys to know how protected you are. If you have been feeling kind of unsafe or unprotected, just know you are being divinely protected, but they do want you to listen to your guides and pay attention to that. They don't want you disregarding and just writing it off or saying like, oh, whatever, it's going to be fine either way. Definitely your guides have your back and they are protecting you. They are looking out for you, but they also want you to take those steps to look out for yourself. And it's not even just about the reality of that, although it is, but it's also about, again, that energy, the message you send out to the world and to yourself when you value, protect, and take care of yourself versus when you just allow your energy to go out to anyone. I mentioned this before, but I think about it all the time. But there's this TikTok account from this water company, and they make their money by selling ads on the water bottles. So the water bottles are covered in ads, and then they give the water away for free because they're selling the advertising to companies on the bottles, not directly to the consumer. So anyway, that's how they make their money. And so they just stand out on like the street corners in New York City and give away this water. And people are so untrustworthy of the water, which is completely valid. I probably wouldn't even take a free water, to be honest. But it kind of makes you realize how like ridiculous it all is, that, yeah, we when someone gives us something for free, we're always like, wait, what does this mean? What's the catch? What's going on here? This must not be worth anything. And then when someone's selling it, it's like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I don't know if this is completely true, but from what I've heard or what my mom would always tell us, because she was kind of an OG health girly and she was always into like organic food and natural stuff. Anyway, she told us that like, I think Dasani water is just sourced from like the Detroit tap water system. So basically the Detroit public water. And so we should never drink it because you're basically buying tap water. And anyway, I know that there are multiple companies that do stuff like that, probably not just Dasani, but other companies as well. And that's the thing, is like, you can't give away this bottled water that's free and probably really good water. But if you put it in a bottle and slap a nice label on it, you can go ahead and sell people tap water, Detroit tap water, for like $2 a bottle. You know what I mean? And there's such a message in that. Sometimes the more boundaries we have up, the more we value ourselves, you're not going to repel anyone. If anything, you're going to attract more people. And I feel like that's something you're also figuring out this month. You may literally feel like your hard work is paying off, like you guys are getting a lot of benefits. And I feel like as well, you may feel very celebrated. You may have some kind of payoff. And a lot of that is going to be contingent, again, on you having boundaries, sticking up for yourself, advocating for yourself, and really figuring out what you want and going after it. Let's get some more message cards for you. Pile number 3. So we got the 7-star sisters, birthing creations, tapestry of life, expression. This one is cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life, loosen your grip, coping mechanisms, density, addiction, let God in. And this one is portal. Doors are opening. You decide, rewards, wild card. So this is a really beautiful time in your life, and it seems like there's so many possibilities that are opening up, so many things that could happen for you guys with this portal card. This could be a really amazing time when there are, like I said, so many different possibilities for you to change your destiny. And Spirit wants to remind you that you are the master of your own destiny. No one else can decide your destiny. Only you can. And if you feel a little bit like you're at rock bottom, or something has not worked out, or you are losing it, then just know that is always when you're at the best position to change your life, and when everything is going to really conspire in your favor. That's why the Wheel of Fortune, when the Wheel of Fortune is at the bottom, it's actually a positive message. Because it's showing that the only way is up. Okay, so like, if we're at the bottom of the Wheel of Fortune, then that is meaning that life is about to get really good and we have so much to look forward to. And I feel like for you, if you have been going through some karmic relationships lately, if you have been feeling like you have been learning some really hard soul lessons, there is a message for you that a lot of that was happening to help you grow, to help you become a more evolved soul. You've learned those lessons from that, and that's a really good thing. And a lot of times Spirit will press on whatever bruise we have. If there's an area of our life when we don't have boundaries, or where we don't have self-worth, that's what Spirit is going to highlight and bring up and make us deal with. And it's happening for our own advancement, because Spirit wants us to graduate from those lessons, learn them, and be able to move on. I feel like for you guys, there's such a power in you, such a decision that you're making this month about your destiny, about your future. And I also feel like your spirit guides want you to know there is no wrong answer. You can't mess it up. This is your beautiful life to live, however you want to live it. And like I said, there is no wrong answer. So you don't need to be afraid. You don't need to be panicked. You don't need to worry too much about it. You just need to do what feels good to you, what resonates with you. Embody that King of Wands energy that is more self-focused. It's not an overly servile energy trying to make everyone happy with him. He's like, this is what I want, and that's what I'm doing. So that's the energy you guys are supposed to embody in November, pile 3. And that is the reading I have for you. I hope it resonates. If you want to see more of my content, then be sure to check out my Patreon, where I post all my additional readings. There are over 100 exclusive readings you'll only find on Patreon, and you also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. So you get a mix of those exclusive Patreon videos and early access to YouTube videos. I just posted a reading all about open channeled messages, as well as one all about your future spouse, but I can't remember exactly. There are so many different topics, though. I'm posting new ones all the time. So sometimes it's hard for me to keep track, and it's also been a while because I have been sick. So thanks for bearing with me if my voice was a little off today. but I'll be posting a lot over on Patreon to make up for my sickness. So if you would like to sign up, then head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description and join me over on Patreon. Also, if you would like to book a private session with me, you can do that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. Whether you want a quick half-hour reading or a full hour-length reading, whether you're looking for a tarot reading, an astrology session, a channeling session, you get to choose and customize your reading. So it's the perfect reading for you. If you want it pre-recorded, if you want it live, there are lots of options to choose from. So if you'd like to book, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very, very soon for another reading. Take care, guys, and I'll see you then. Bye.